The spin dash forever squandered Sonic's potential. Let me explain. As we all know, Sonic 1 is a game that did not feature the spin dash. That game was purely about building speed through smart use of the level design, and for the most part the game succeeded at this, outside of Labyrinth Zone. This made Sonic 1 have a pretty high skill ceiling on repeat playthroughs because the game requires you to master and learn the level design very intricately before you can really start going fast. And I think that makes getting good at Sonic 1 a very satisfying venture. But fast forward to Sonic 2 and we get introduced to this new move, the spin dash. When standing still, hold down and spam the jump button, and Sonic will rev in place for a quick burst of speed. This drastically increased the pace of the game, which is why Sonic 2 is a much faster game in general than Sonic 1. The level design, of course, had to be changed to accommodate such a move. And yes, don't get it twisted, I do like the spin dash. It's really fun to use, especially when using it off ramps to get some good heights. But here's the thing, with the introduction of the spin dash, we forever lost what made Sonic 1 so interesting. Because not only do we not have, to really use the level design in ways that Sonic 1 asked us to, but the spin dash also ultimately lowered the skill ceiling of Sonic by giving you access to this instantaneous burst of speed. Think about it this way. In Sonic 1, there were obstacles that effectively acted like speed checks. You needed to be going at a certain pace in order to clear these obstacles. The most obvious examples, of course, being the walls in Green Hill Zone. What makes the walls an interesting obstacle is that you cannot simply run through them. You have to backtrack, find ways to gain enough speed, and break through them with a roll. Of course, since it was only Green Hill Zone, it was never really expanded upon and made hard and gained complexity, but the potential is there if you have the vision. I could easily see this becoming an obstacle that gets harder and gains complexity as the game goes on. Slope jumping as well becomes more of a challenge because you can't simply spin dash to get the instant burst of speed, like in all the future Sonic games. You actually have to utilize your jumps and rolling much more accurately to slope jump in a game like Sonic 1. I also find speed shoes and horizontal springs to be much more necessary in Sonic 1 as opposed to later games. The speed shoes really do make a big difference in Sonic 1 because it makes it extremely easy to go up slopes, ramps, and loops because of just how fast your acceleration is with the speed shoes. The spin dash, quite honestly, kind of takes away a lot of the power of the speed shoes. It doesn't quite make them redundant, but it does definitely lower the overall power of that pickup. Another thing of note is the level design changes from Sonic 1 to Sonic 2. With the addition of the spin dash, ideally you want a lot more straight pathways to encourage the player to use that move, whereas in Sonic 1, the level design could be a lot more rigid because it didn't have to really worry about that instant speed. And while Sonic 1's level design is far from perfect, I think going fast in a lot of these rigid levels like Marble Zone feels very rewarding because it's not something that is so easily given to the player, something that you actually have to learn and play through. And I think, with more refinement, levels like Sonic 1 could really be good. I think, a game designed like Sonic 1 in the modern era with everything we know about Sonic could be a very fun and challenging experience, and I would be all for it personally. Unfortunately, it's very unlikely that we'll ever see a game like that come to fruition, as with Sonic 2 onwards, every game pretty much featured a way to gain instant speed, and that has always been a fact that has made the games much more accessible because, as we can see with Sonic 1's reputation, a lot of people aren't too keen on a Sonic game without a tool to go faster. Of course, that is also partially due to Sonic 1 having very rigid level design that some people may consider slow. But with refinement, the level design would be rigid but not slow. It would be rigid, but however, it would have ways for the player to really go fast and actually express themselves through the skill of the game. Of course, it wouldn't be extremely accessible. It would actually take a little bit of playing, but I feel like that's kind of how Sonic used to be. It used to take a few playthroughs before you can really get into the game and kind of go fast, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just a guy with a microphone. There was and still is a lot of potential for a Sonic game that doesn't feature a tool like the spin dash or the boost, especially in 3D. I think a pure momentum-based platformer would be a very cool and unique idea that I don't think has ever really been attempted outside of a few hand-picked indie titles I can think of. I believe it would be a hard idea to pull off right, but with the correct mindset, I think it would be more than possible to create. I know this idea probably wouldn't fit the Sonic series as it is now, because Sonic as it is now was more about maintaining speed through a series of obstacles as opposed to gaining speed through the uses of slope, loops, ramps, and any type of other pieces of level design. They are both valid concepts that I think work well for Sonic. I just think we should take another crack at a game that is solely dependent on the player's ability to use your physics and level design in order to go fast. But with that being said, if you made it this far into the video, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.